offers the freedom to travel anywhere, explore on your own terms, and live closer to nature. But does it actually save you money compared to flying and staying in hotels? We broke down the cost and compared RVing to traditional vacations, and what we found just might change the way you plan your next trip. We often take trips to Orlando every year, and this year we paid very close attention to how much everything cost us, and we're going to break down how much it costs us to travel to Orlando from Maryland by RV, by car, and by plane. Welcome to the channel, and let's get started.
When we drive to Florida, we like to break it up into 2 days, and we like to try to find an inexpensive stop. Usually we like military campgrounds or state parks, which are about $25, can be up to $40, and sometimes if there isn't availability, we'll stay at some place a little more expensive.
Now, we've also found that south of the border is a really good option. I think the last time we stayed there, it was only about $30 per night. And the reason why we don't like to spend a lot on that overnight stay is because it's just for one night so that we can get some rest and can continue our trip. We're not really going to be taking advantage of any of the facilities that the campground may offer. We really just want to get some sleep and then move on. So our average cost for that one night stay is usually about $40. Now let's talk a little bit about gas.
We usually have to fill up a couple of times each way, and it comes to about $450 one way.
Now we tow our Jeep. So if we weren't towing our Jeep, we would get about 8 miles per gallon. Because we tow the Jeep, we get about 6 miles a gallon. So the total in fuel cost for us traveling from Maryland to Orlando comes to about $900 round trip. Now, the benefit of having the tow vehicle is that we do not have to pay anything additional for renting a car while we're traveling, because we have the Jeep with us.
Because we tow the Jeep, that takes out the expense of a rental car.
Now, there are a couple of things that we're not going to add into our costs. One of them is having the Jeep, because that's my daily driver, and generally when we travel, we're not going to go over the number of miles I would normally travel going to work and back each day. The other thing we're not going to factor in is the cost of food, because when we travel by RV, we're essentially just bringing our food from home or buying groceries on the way, and that's something that we would have to do anyway.
Right.
Plus, generally when we're at home, usually on Friday nights, we'll splurge and we'll go out to dinner, and so we'll do that on our trips, maybe once or twice, during the trip, depending on the length that we're traveling. So I'm not going to really factor that in as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So at our destination campground, we usually like to stay someplace nice, because, it's a vacation for us. We're traveling. We want to enjoy the facilities. And a lot of times we want to go to Disney World, for example. We spend a lot of time traveling there, Universal Studios and other places in Orlando that we like to visit. So generally, the average campground or RV resort in Orlando is about $90 a night. Fort Wilderness at Disney World is a little bit more expensive, and that comes to $130 per night. So when you add up all of those costs, you have gas is $900, and that's calculating for a round trip.
Right.
We have the campground fees at $730, so that's $40 for the one night stay, and that's an average, and then $650 for staying at a higher end campground for 5 nights. And then for propane, we might spend maybe $3 to $6, so I'll put it on the high end of that, because it depends on what type of year it is.
What time of year?
Oh yeah, because it depends on what time of, thank you, John. It depends on what time of year that it is. And so that gives us a total cost of $1,146 for traveling from the state of Maryland to Orlando, Florida for 1 week.
1 week.
Well, it's 5 days in Orlando and then 4 days worth of travel.
Right.
So then the next thing is if we decided to go by car. Now, if you've been watching our channel, you know that I am absolutely terrified of flying. We're still going to talk about flying, and we still fly sometimes when I'm heavily medicated, but we'll include that as well. So obviously you're going to get a lot more fuel mileage when you travel with a car. My Jeep gets about 20 miles per gallon.
About 24.
No, my Jeep gets about 20 miles per gallon. Ever since I've done the lift, it gets a little bit less. And so we'll take an average of about maybe 30 miles per gallon. I think that's probably what
most
a lot
vehicles.
of people get, except for people who have like those high efficiency cars.
Right.
envious, but that's okay. I love my Jeep. So your gas round trip is going to run you about $180. Now, if you're traveling by car, you're going to have to stop and you're going to have to buy food. Plus, your final destination is most likely going to be a hotel.
Right.
So you're also going to have to buy food there. So we're trying to do this on a budget kind of trip as far as food wise. So if you, let's say, did inexpensive fast food while you were there, that would probably amount to about maybe $25 per day. A nice, breakfast at Dunkin' Donuts, maybe dinner at Chick-fil-A.
Yes, fancy.
So you'll need food for the trip down, you need food for the trip back, and you need food for your stay. And then I added a little bit of extra in case you wanted to spend one night going out or, getting an extra meal.
Right.
And you calculate this with the way that you guys budget and eat when you travel. We try not to spend too much on food. So that's about $250.
Right.
And then for your hotel expense, if you were to stay at let's say a Marriott, for example, now we have a military rate, so that gives us about $147 per night for our military rate. And I just want to mention, you guys are going to stick around because I have got one heck of a hotel story to tell you. And this is one of the reasons, in addition to me being scared to death of flying, why we love RVing so much and why it's made such a difference. You have got to stick around for this story because I don't know, you may not want to travel in hotels anymore after this story either.
Man.
You don't care. Women out there, you probably care like I care. The guys are somewhat different, especially if they were military, but you're going to want to stick around and you're going to want to hear this. We like to stay someplace nice, so we'll stay at a 4-star hotel. So that's like the equivalent of a Marriott, some of the Marriotts. It's nothing really too outrageous. We're not staying at Ritz-Carlton or anything like that. And so ChatGPT has informed me that the average nightly rate for a 4-star hotel in Orlando is $190 a night. So that would bring your total for a hotel stay to $1,097. Gas for the car for the entire trip will run you about $180. Food is going to run you about $250. The hotel is $1,097, and that gives you a total cost of $1,527. Now, the final way that we would travel to Orlando is via plane. Now, I won't include the cost of my medications for the anxiety I have while flying because not everybody suffers with that like I do.
Right.
So let's start with your plane tickets.
Now, I'm going to use her cheat sheet. Plane tickets are going to cost you $286. Now, we're going to double that up. It's going to come to $572.
That's one way, so you're going to want to calculate it round trip. So your plane tickets round trip for 2 people, it's going to be $1,144.
Next, meals are going to come to about $250 per week.
And that's the same as, if you're traveling in the car.
Right.
Right. Your meals are your meals. It's going to be the same.
Exactly the same. Now, your hotel will be $950 again. And you rental car?
Yeah, so unless you're going someplace like, it's a venue or like it's a conference, for example,
right.
then you'll stay at that venue, and that's not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal.
But
then.
If you're not, then you're also going to have to add in the cost of renting a car, especially if you're going to a location that doesn't have a comprehensive transit system like New York City or Boston or someplace like that.
They have good transit. Everywhere else really doesn't have good transit.
Right. So, and then you'd have to factor in your commuting to wherever it is you want to go. But just like being home, you'd be paying for gas. So that's kind of minimal. So for a rental car, we'd say the average price to rent a car is around $60 per day times 5 days. That's an additional $300.
So with all of that brings our total to $2,644.
That's right. So looking at all these costs, we have RV is $1,140. A car is $1,527, and by plane is $2,644. But there are some non-monetary costs that we have to factor into this. Right? Because there are things about each one of these modes of travel that you have to consider. So if you're traveling by car or you're traveling by RV, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to your destination. If I fly by plane, I can get to my hotel from my house in maybe 6 hours.
Right.
Including the time you have to go through TSA, you're flying,
all of that.
the time you have to get there. So, I mean, it's 6 hours versus spending 2 days on the road in an RV. And in the car, you can minimize it. I mean, we've done it before when we were younger. We've left home and we've driven down to Orlando and done it in one night or pretty close to one night.
Yeah,
we stopped in Jackson in one day. Thank you.
One day.
We've done it in one day, or we stopped in Jacksonville the night for one night and then just gotten up and been there in a few hours after that.
Right. We've done that.
So you can do that. Now, so time is really important, and it depends on how much you value your time. Now, for us, we don't mind the traveling. Well, for John, he likes driving, so it's good for him, and I can sit in the passenger seat and I can get some videos edited, or I can get some work done, I can take care of things. And so for me, it's not that big of a deal, or I can just sleep. So the time goes by very quickly for me. And then if we choose wisely, you know, if we leave early enough, which we never do, being part-time RVers, always leaving after work, you know, we might have another city that we can explore for a few hours, if it's someplace that we like to go back and visit.
That's true. There are stops that we can make in an RV, and we can just decide on the fly where we want to stop, where we want to stay the night. I mean, it's a very flexible mode of travel. I mean, I suppose a car could be too, but I found that being in an RV, you have your whole home right here.
And the other thing that we didn't talk about with an RV is, yes, we have that campground stay, but there are a lot of people whose RVs are outfitted so that they can boondock or stay someplace overnight, like a Cracker Barrel, a Walmart. And if the weather's right, you know, if it's not really, really cold, like it is sometimes where we live in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, I mean, you definitely can do that. You really don't need a lot to spend the night in a gas station or a hotel, and that would lower your costs as well. And then there's also what we don't talk about, we haven't talked about, and this really depends on the person, how you want to quantify it, is there's the additional maintenance costs for your RV.
Right.
There's the wear and tear on your RV for the trip, because every trip, if you own an RV, you know when you come back, you're doing some maintenance from the wear and tear. There's wear and tear on your tires, which need to, especially if you have a Class A RV, are very expensive.
Yes.
And they don't last as long as you would think that they would. Then there's also the cost for purchasing the RV, right? So if you bought it outright, good for you, smart way to do it. If you didn't, you might have a loan that you have to pay for your RV, so that has to be factored into your costs as well. And finally, for some of us who are not full-time and who have homeowners associations who really don't like RVs, you have to pay to store your RV somewhere. Now, we're fortunate because John's retired military, so we can store ours on a military base, probably for
a substantial discount.
For a substantial. We would probably pay yearly what some people pay monthly. So we're very, very fortunate to be able to do that, thanks to John's service in the Marine Corps. Woohoo, go Marines. Now, with the car, you have a lot of the same things. You have your loan payment, but if you have the car anyway and you need that car for other uses, that's fine, because I'm not going to take the RV to work every day, but I can take my car to work every day. So a lot of those expenses don't really apply except for the wear and tear. And another advantage of taking the RV, and this is a non-monetary one, and this is the final one for the RV, that is being able to stop at Buc-ee's.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if there are other costs that you know about that we may have missed with traveling in an RV, please let us know. So let's talk about flying. Are there any additional costs that we didn't cover with flying, or non-monetary costs that we didn't cover with flying?
Not that I can relate. I mean, unless, you know, something happens like with me and you lose your CPAP because of TSA.
There is one more. I'm not going to say it was the last one for the RV that I want. There's one more non-monetary cost, which to me means the world. The last time we drove to Florida, we stayed at a Marriott Courtyard near the Savannah, Georgia airport.
Right.
We went through four rooms, and they all had the same problem. And this, folks, totally grossed me out. And this is one of the other reasons why I love RVing, and I love having my own bedroom with my own sheets, my own bathroom, and everything else. We were tired. We left late. It was around, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. We finally get to the hotel. And we were traveling with our son. All we wanted to do was get to the room and get some sleep so that we could get up the next day and finish our trip, because we wanted to get up early and go. We got to the room. I want to let you tell the story, John.
Oh, now you just started this.
Go ahead, John. What happened when we got to the room, John? So when we go to hotels, I always, and everybody, you should do this. I always check for bed bugs because, I'm just that kind of person.
Ever since that bed bug incident a few years ago, yes.
Yeah, so that was like 10 years ago. We went to a hotel, had bed bugs. That's a whole nother story. It's another reason why I love having an RV. But I always check. I didn't have to get that far. Go into the hotel room, pull back the sheets, and what is on the sheets? Hair. And it wasn't my hair.
Of course not. You just pulled back the covers. It was already
You know
there.
what? It wasn't my hair. So I'm like, okay, this is totally gross. He doesn't care. I care. I am not sleeping in a bed that has hair in it. So we go downstairs and we're like, look, there's hair in this room. You got to give us another room. Oh, we're so sorry. Please accept our deepest apologies. We'll work as quickly as we can and we'll get you another room. And it took about maybe 5-10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
We have this room here available. Thank you for being so understanding. And we take our stuff and we go to that next room, and what happens? We roll back the sheets, and what do we find, John?
More hair.
And a bottle cap.
Oh.
So now this is telling me, okay, this hotel does not change their sheets between customers, or their staff is just like
terrible.
But make the bed and that's it. So this time we don't lug our stuff back downstairs.
No.
We just call and we're like, there's hair in this room. You've got to get us another room. This is ridiculous. We're tired. Please get us another room. So she says, we are just so sorry. This is not our normal standard. If you look at our ratings, we're rated really well. I'm going to have a supervisor make you a bed and, check the room and make sure everything is okay. Please give us about another 10 minutes. Okay. So we stay in the room and we wait because I wasn't moving suitcases again.
Not again. You?
I had one. I have a backpack. Anybody who's married knows how this works. I was looking out for you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, so they call us and we go to the next room, right?
It's a long night by this time.
By now it's like after midnight, right?
Well after midnight.
So we go to the next room and the supervisor's there and she's making the bed, and what happens, John?
You had to look and see another hair.
Saw another hair. What in the heck is going on with those washing machines and those dryers? Like, there's so much hair, and it was different hair each time.
Yeah.
And it was a different amount of hair each time.
Yeah, it was.
It was gross. So then the next time, I'm in the room with the supervisor while she's getting the clean sheets and making the bed so that we can have a hair-free room.
Watch them just make a whole new bed.
Anyway, the whole point of this is why I think out of all these different types of travel, RVing is the best. You can take your time. You can stop whenever you want to. You can see whatever you want to see. You can do whatever you want to do on the way. Have a good time. Enjoy each other's company, not rush, and sleep in your own bed. Let us know what your thoughts are. What do you think is the best mode of travel for wherever you want to go? John and I are really interested in hearing it.
Yes.
If you want to see more about our travels and get more information about how to RV, check out this video right here.
It's always there.
On John's face.
Yeah.
See ya.
Okay, that's...